Be a part of the best pro wrestling podcast today at patreon.com/Steve and Larson. Enjoy tons of bonus videos, including patron-only live shows, gameplay, and vintage 10 for the wins, access to podcast question threads, the Friendo Care Package, and so much more. Support Going In Raw today at patreon.com/Steve and Larson. Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And on today's Going In Raw news brief, is WWE deleting Bret Hart? Is AEW bringing back fans? Is Vince taking Raw away from Bruce Pritchard? Larson, what's in the news?
What's in the news? So following the introduction of Raw Underground to Monday night a couple weeks back and the return of Shane McMahon to our TV screens, Alex McCarthy is now reporting that, quote, one source in WWE has told me Shane is being considered to take Raw off Bruce Pritchard's hands, leaving him to concentrate on SmackDown. He continues, other sources that have posed this information couldn't give concrete confirmation, though judging by work behind the scenes, they can believe it. Another layer to the story is Pritchard making no secret about the fact that he'd like to lighten up his workload, and he's been struggling with the long hours. Shane has worked far better with Vince during his second spell with the company. McCarthy also notes that Raw Underground was more or less kind of Shane's creation, something that he's been working on for years, and adds that Shane helped put together this year's Rumble, and that he has been sitting next to Vince at gorilla position, apparently offering up ideas and helping to produce some WWE programming. So it seems like he's taken more active role in the creative side of things. Raw Underground, while not perfect, has been a unique addition to Raw.
Yeah.
And so, you know, heck, if Shane's got some out-of-the-box ideas that can help freshen up the product, why not?
I agree 100%. The one thing I'll say about Raw Underground, it actually leaves me wanting more Raw Underground. Like when I see it, I'm like, I didn't get enough. Maybe give me a little bit more. So, I mean, yeah, I totally agree, man. Look, Shane is probably what, like early 50s, super late 40s, something like that.
Yeah, something like that, probably.
You know, it always helps to have, I know that's not necessarily young, but it's a lot younger than Vince and Bruce. I mean, it's probably around Vince's age back when the Attitude Era was on fire. So, I mean, and then WWE's doing pretty well back then. So, you know, if
Shane's 50.
Okay, there you go. If he's actually listening to Vince, if Vince is actually listening to some new ideas and maybe putting some faith in somebody who might be a little bit more in touch with, you know, stuff, then I'm all for it, man. I'll be honest, man. I'd be kind of happy if any number of people would take the reins from Vince McMahon, just because, you know, he's really old and Bruce Pritchard is like super overworked. Like, that's just way too much stuff for.
He doesn't even have time to do his podcast anymore.
Is that on a less frequent schedule now?
No, I think it's still on a frequent schedule, but you'll see tweets, saying Bruce running late, this happened, that happened. You know, he'll do an episode where he's obviously like exhausted.
He's great. Yeah, he's a lot grumpier these days. That's obvious. That's way obvious. Yeah, it is.
So it seems to be pretty. This gig doing Raw and SmackDown is putting a huge strain on his podcast endeavors.
And that's like my favorite Bruce Pritchard thing.
Exactly.
His podcast. It's kind of shocking that he kept on doing that after he even got hired back by the WWE.
I'm not surprised, like, contractually they'd let him do it.
Yeah, I know. I agree. So that's kind of interesting stuff. Also of interest, AEW might be bringing back some fans, trying to become a new super spreader event, Larson, after slowly allowing more and more people into Daly's place. Today, AEW announced that they'll be offering a limited number of tickets for purchase for next week's Dynamite on August 27th. AEW's press release about the on-sale states that the company, quote, will host limited ticketed crowds of 10 to 15% capacity for its live shows in compliance with state and local regulations and CDC guidelines. A number of physically distanced seating pods will be available for sale in groups of 2, 3, 4, and 6 around the outdoor venue. The press release also detailed AEW's health and safety protocols. Guests will be required to wear face coverings that cover the nose and the mouth. If anybody's going to AEW Dynamite, FriendoMerch.com, support the Friendos with the Friendo Club face mask. Look at this guy. He can breathe just fine. Woo, Dynamite. Go, Hangman Page. Anyways, guests will also be asked not to attend the day of the show if they actually have the COVID-19, symptoms of COVID-19, or if they've had close contact exposure, coughing in the mouths of people who they know have COVID-19 or even symptoms. In addition, all guests will have their temperature scanned prior to entry. An increased number of hand sanitizing stations will be available, and floor markings will also be used to assist with physical distancing. Industrial fans were also added this past year to further improve air circulation at the open air venue. Those fans just taking COVID from one person to the next.
Yeah, if you're downwind from a fan, you're.
I don't know how that works, man. I don't know if that works.
Maybe it's like the giant ceiling fans they have in the Performance Center.
Could be, yeah.
Those would circulate the air.
Yeah, in a good way or bad. I don't know. I don't know how air works. I'll be honest with you. I breathe it.
I think it's better to have air moving than have air still.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah, I think so. That's why if you're outside, it's better than if you're just in like a room.
Well, I just figure if you're outside, it just dissipates into the sky.
Yeah. Well, it's a confined space. If you're inside, it's a larger confined space. Whereas outdoor it can go up and around.
Yeah.
There's breeze, guaranteed move the air. I'm talking out my.
That's okay.
Anyways, you know me. I'm a play it safe type guy. Personally, even with these measures in place, I wouldn't feel comfortable going. 10 to 50% capacity.
5,000, that's 500 people.
Yeah, that's a relatively small crowd. They had the seating chart. They posted the seating chart up on Twitter. It seems like most of the seats are in the top two sections. So it's going to be quite removed from the ring area to protect the talent. And, I guess they probably feel pretty good, AEW does, considering they haven't had any positive tests that they're aware of. Seems like the protocols they have implemented backstage have worked. Seems like the protocols they have implemented for allowing, however many people have been at shows over the last few weeks, maybe 50, 60. I don't know. It's hard to tell because the venue is rather large and they're relatively spread out.
Yeesh, man, in the last 7 days, according to the CDC's website, Florida has had 32,851 cases.
And that's the other thing is despite the fact that AEW might be doing all that they think they can to prevent the spread, Florida is getting hit really bad right now. And once you bring people outside of your circle in who might not be taking this as seriously as you are, you run the risk of potentially exposing people to this virus. I'd be uncomfortable with it. If they're really draconian in enforcing their protocols in terms of mask wearing, making sure people are appropriately socially distanced from each other, it's going to help. But the more people they put in that building, the greater the chance somebody gets sick.
The cases per 100,000 people in Florida is second only to New York, and that's only by the dozens. It's like they're both at 2,700 plus. That's obviously, we've known this for a while. Florida's the hotbed of COVID, and of course here in lovely California as well, but it's more down south. AEW's, they've had praise for how they've dealt with empty arena era. If this is not my thing is this, I just don't really see how adding 500 people in pods will really add necessarily to the overall production. And if that's what you want, do you really, financially, do they really need the extra 500 people in attendance to stay as a business?
No, I doubt that. They're $30 a ticket, I think they said on Twitter. So what? That's
15,000. Yeah,
that's not a ton of money.
So I don't know, man. I don't know. It's probably isn't.
I don't know if it's worth asking this question, but is this in any way a reactionary move to Thunderdome?
I would be shocked if it was. I would actually be shocked if it was, because number one, their product is not up against Thunderdome, like directly.
No, it's
directly.
not. But Thunderdome, maybe it's not so much a head-to-head competition, but the idea of doing what you can to make your product as appealing to the television viewer as possible.
Tony Khan doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who would. Well, I guess the question there would be, would they have done this if Thunderdome wasn't a thing? I kind of feel like they still would have.
I feel like they would have at some juncture.
Yeah.
And maybe this was in the works all along, and it's a coincidental thing. I'm not saying this is a reactionary move. I'm just broaching the subject to get conversation started.
Yeah, sure. No, I actually do give, when it comes to their business moves, I give the benefit of the doubt to Tony Khan in that he doesn't do that kind of thing.
They seem to operate more or less.
It's not an invalid point.
In a bubble. Yeah, they seem to operate in a bubble. They just handle their business and not concern themselves seemingly so much with what WWE is doing. But given the timing of it all,
I mean, they'll take some superficial shots at WWE, but they seem to have a pretty solid business plan. That doesn't, like, look, WWE, they're top of the mountain. And so, yeah, they're going to do, and this is not a criticism at all. This is, I mean, you could say that their 2-night Great American Bash was a smart business idea, because it was. Like, counter-programming is a smart business idea. This is not a knock on WWE. Saying that somebody is counter-programming is not a knock on them. It's just AEW just seems to do their thing. They're the ones who's trying to get to the top, and WWE's trying to keep them from getting there. So, obviously, AEW is going to be doing what they can do to get there. I feel like this is I don't know. I saw a picture. I want to say it was in the UK, but I could be completely wrong about that. Of an outdoor concert where they had the same thing, like pods for like up to 4, maybe 6 people. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I don't know if I would do that, but at the same time, I wouldn't necessarily feel all that in danger as long as when I'm coming and going, I'm like making sure that I'm like being covered.
It's the thing is, are they enforcing their own health and safety protocols? And that's the primary thing. If they're putting this out there and people come to the door, they get their ticket scanned, they get their temperature checked, they got their mask on there, they go up to their seat, maybe they're in the nosebleed. They're like, all right, we're up here. Take the mask off. Yeah. Are there going to be security personnel walking through the venue, making sure people keep their masks on?
You would, I mean, for that few people, I would think so. You
would hope so. Yeah. You would hope so. But it looked like based on the seating chart, it looked like these seats were quite spread out.
Oh, really? That's
obviously,
cool.
As it would have to be to follow social distancing regulations. They look pretty spread out amongst the top 2 tiers of the venue. So
there's lots of room there. So I mean, if you only have 10% capacity. So yeah, I don't know. I personally I'll see it. I'll make my judgment call in terms of whether I, as a fan of AEW, think that it adds more to it. But if all this is going to really do is add a little bit of crowd noise, and then sometimes they'll like show the crowd like in pods, to me that comes off as more like a gimmick as opposed to adding to the atmosphere of the show. But then again, I don't really know what it looks like right now, so I'll reserve judgment till I see it.
Yeah. For me, it's all about enforcement. If AEW is taking the health and safety protocol seriously and enforcing them around the entire venue, then they're gonna help themselves in the public relations aspect of all that.
Yep.
Again, that wouldn't be enough for me to go. But I guess everybody has to make their own call on that.
Yeah. Anyways,
speaking of making a call, WWE has apparently made the call to pull some documentaries off their network. All of them apparently with Bret Hart.
Oh, conspiracy! There's a conspiracy now. What's going on? What's going on?
So PW Insider is reporting these documentaries are getting pulled, and they're suggesting it may have to do with Bret's ownership of his matches.
Oh, wow.
From his Stampede Wrestling days. This is what they have to say, quote, while WWE has ownership of the Stampede Wrestling library, Bret Hart owns the rights to his matches from that same library, which he purchased from his parents before their passing. This issue has led to the WWE Network pulling complete episodes of Stampede Wrestling TV in 2015, shortly after they were uploaded to the network. Since that time, WWE has only utilized matches from Stampede that do not feature Bret Hart appearing, and the two sides have never come to agreement on the usage of Hart's matches from that time period. There's no word what led to the documentaries pulled, but if these documentaries featured Bret Hart content from Stampede, which in the case of some of them was certainly the case,
conspiracy,
they may have been yanked by WWE streaming service.
They're trying to screw me again.
Another case of Bret screwing Bret, maybe. If those titles returned with some slight re-editing, that would certainly prove the Stampede footage theory.
Oh, editing for more Bret Hart. Put more of me in it. Less of Sean. No Sean. John.
There's enough Sean on TV these days.
Sean's on TV too much. I saw him in the main event on Raw What is this, 1995? Get out of here with that. That's garbage. Vince is garbage. I'm fucked. Anyways, yeah. So conspiracy. Next, Larson, are we going to see, Shawn Michaels in singles action in an Iron Man match at the main event of WrestleMania
12? Well, it happened to Stampede Wrestling then, yes. But not,
when I first saw
WWE
this,
stuff.
when I first saw this headline, I was like, "Oh, what did Bret do? They're removing it from the network." But yeah, apparently it's just a footage rights thing.
It's boring legal stuff.
It's boring legal stuff. Although, I mean, yeah, maybe there's an impasse of some sort between them wanting to use the Stampede Wrestling footage and I want more money for it. I see I see the network. You've got
I see the value in Bret Hart Stampede Wrestling.
I see the value in Stampede. Great value. I'm best value.
$200,000 annually.
All this COVID stuff has really taken a hard hit on my convention appearances. Need more money. Anyways, microtransactions. So yeah,
He wants a separate Stampede tier on the WWE Network.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, $25 a month, straight to my
for all the
coffers.
exclusive Bret Hart Stampede content.
Otherwise, I'm fucked. Okay. Anyways, that's it. We're gonna be back. We have our predictions tomorrow, and then tomorrow night we also have SmackDown. First of like 4 nights of live streaming stuff. So that should be fun.
Well, then you see too that the September 2nd episode of NXT is going to be on the 1st now because of playoff hockey.
Is that a Tuesday?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm fucked.
That's the following week though.
Oh no, that's too much.
So.
Well, that's fine. That means that we're going to have a better Thursday.
Yeah.
Hey, we need a break.
Well, it's not next week. It's the week after next.
Stop making so much content, eh? Just go back and watch old Stampede.
There you go. Maybe Bret Hart's going to start his own streaming service with Bret Hart Stampede Wrestling.
Bret Hart Stampede Wrestling. And it's like, every night he'll live stream too. Hey, how's it going? Time for an AMA. Ask me anything. Anything except for Sean questions. Except for that time I tore out a chunk of his hair. Anyways, we got to go. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Be a part of the best pro wrestling podcast today at patreon.com/Steve and Larson. Enjoy tons of bonus videos, including patron-only live shows, gameplay, and vintage 10 for the wins, access to podcast question threads, the Friendo Care Package, and so much more. Support Going In Raw today at patreon.com/Steve and Larson.